If there is one aspect of the golf swing that without a doubt everyone should be focusing on whenever they're at the range, it is building an awareness of their club face. So often we will see that players will have an impact position in which they will be scooping, adding loft. They will be hitting behind the golf ball, topping it. And one of the main reasons that this actually occurs is for the simple fact that by the time that the club face is in this club shaft parallel position, it's actually too open. And we can see that the toe of the golf club, this part right here, is actually pointing a long way up to the sky. And sometimes we can even see it significantly more open than that. Now, outside of any grip adjustments, the one piece which affects the movement of the club face more than anything is our wrist angles. And very often we'll see players with a great grip get to the top of their swing, and then as they get into transition, they'll either get very narrow and pulley with the handle as it comes down, and we're going to see that players start to get a significant cupping of this lead wrist in transition. Now, this right here is one of the biggest causes for poor accuracy and also ball striking for players. The main reason being is the ball only cares about that club face at the moment of impact. No matter how you got that club and that shaft back to the ball, essentially this is the one thing that strikes it. So we need to make sure that we're dialed in with our club face awareness and we know what it feels like to get back to square. So let's demonstrate a player who would be getting to the top. They would have a functional grip, so we wouldn't change that. But as they get to the top of their swing, they're going to start to pull the handle down. They're going to get very narrow between the club shaft and their body, and we're going to see a significant cupping of that lead wrist in transition. Now, as I then start to move down into this club shaft parallel position, we're going to see that the toe of the golf club would be pointing more up towards the sky, as opposed to this position here that we would see the majority of good players, where that club face angle would be matching our spine angle. And then as a result of this open club face, their body has a subconscious reaction where they're actually going to stall out, they're going to stop rotating, they're going to start flipping and adding a lot of loft at impact. So if this is you, how do we fix it? Well, today we're going to be using the Hack Motion sensor. And the reason we're going to be using this device is it gives incredible feedback, not only visual from the app and the drill that I'm going to show you today, but also audible and haptic, so I can feel it within my wrist. It really is an incredible tool to work on this element of the game. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to set up a drill, and it's called the motorcycle drill. So let me explain how this works. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stand up and face this camera. I'm going to turn the club shaft so it's level with the ground. Now, what we want to see in transition for players who get too cupped with this wrist, which opens the club face, is we actually want to see it go the other way. So imagine that you're riding a motorcycle and you're actually adding some to the throttle here. Well, when I make that movement, we're actually going to start bowing this lead wrist. Now, that lead wrist movement has a direct influence on that club face position. It's actually going to close it relative to where it was before, and it's going to ensure that the club at the moment of impact is going to be more square than open. Now, using this app, and I'll put this up on the screen so you can see it, what we're able to see is a clear visual and a representation of that lead wrist at address. And it's going to guide us through this journey of working on this drill. So from address, this app is set up to measure where my wrist is at address and its movement throughout the swing. So when I get into my address position, it's going to give me a prompt to then go from address, once I'm ready, to swing to the top. Now, as I get to the top, it's going to tell me that I'm in a good position for where I should be, and it's going to prompt me to slowly begin my downswing. If I was to start down and pull that handle towards my body, I'm going to get that club shaft narrow, a pattern that we see a lot of players make. We're going to see that it's going to tell me to flex my wrist a little bit more, and that tone is going to go away. If I was to then slightly flex my wrist, we're going to begin to hear that tone comes back. So then as I come down into impact, I'm trying to keep that tone in check, and then it's going to tell me to follow through. Now, the objective here is to do a lot of reps, just simply building at a very slow speed to start off with. Go through the gamification process of this app, start off from address, wait for the prompt to go to the top of the swing, keep it within the range of playing the tone, and then when it says finish your swing, finish your swing. And the thing is it feels super stable. It feels like I've got a flat and a very controlled movement because of this new wrist position through the golf ball. It actually feels like the club face is pointing more down towards the target. So let's go through that little drill again. We're actually just going to chip one down here this time. So from address, wait for the prompt, to the top. And we can see a nice little shot, and at the end it's actually going to tell me how I went within that range. Now, about halfway down, I actually flexed it a little bit too much. So not only does it help you control the cupping, but also can help you if you start to overcompensate too much as well. So getting into the address, let's do this a little bit faster this time. Wait for the calibration. Beautiful. And what you'll start to see is the ball flight is actually very representative of that wrist angle. For example, if I was to do this, not hear the tone at all, and we actually get into a cupped position and I swing through, we're going to see that the ball's going to go to the right, and it's actually going to make that horrible noise that we're trying to avoid. So we want to get that nice rhythmic tone throughout the downswing, throughout the motion, which will ensure and give us that direct feedback that the wrist is actually staying very flat throughout the motion. Now, very rarely do I actually ever promote any training aids, and the reason I'm promoting this one is because it gives you that feedback by yourself when you're on the range. It is almost like having me there helping you with your golf game. And this is something that I find a lot of players struggle with, is transitioning their lesson out onto the range. So if you've had a lesson with a PGA Pro or an online lesson with myself, well, this is a great tool that you can be using to ensure that you're getting the most out of your practice, even outside of that tuition time. So let's do one more here. And that really was spot on. Wrist conditions were in such a way where the club face was very square to the path coming down. So we can see a big visual difference between the shots where the club face is open, the wrist is cupped, and the ball is going to go right, versus the ones where the lead wrist gets into more of a flexed position thanks to this Hack Motion app here. That club face is going to close down a little bit. That helps me just being able to rotate through the ball effortlessly and keep that club face squarer to the path. So if you're struggling with a lot of shots out to the right, grab yourself a Hack Motion sensor. We've got a great discount for you, so click the link in the description here. Click that little link that's coming up above on the side of the screen. I hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, if you've got any questions, please ask me below. But until next time, I'm Kerrod Gray. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching this video. YouTube thinks that you would benefit from watching this one next. So click that card and it could be the tip that you need to take your game to the next level. I'll see you next time.